Hello, this is Dr. Rosie Kuhn, but you already know that, I think. So this is Friday, and I've called this Friday's Feast. And the theme for today is trusting yourself, or in this case, trusting myself. So each week, each Friday, I will be meeting here just about this time, around 3 p.m. Western time, Pacific time, and talking about what showed up this week in terms of my coaching practice, spiritual, personal practice, my writing, my podcast, my painting. And there always seems to be a theme involved, like what's the consistency of what's keeps appearing. And a lot of times it happens to occur with what's going on for my clients. So for instance, a number of my clients this week talked about different elements of their life where they felt that they couldn't trust themselves. I can't trust myself, period. Or I can't trust myself in doing marketing, or I can't trust myself to be whatever it is. And quite often they'll say, I don't know enough. I got to go back to school. I got to take another course. And it's like, what's missing that they keep having to go back, learn more, do more, be more. And the bottom line comes down to, I can't trust myself. So quite often I'll look at my own personal self and see how it shows up. And so it showed up in a number of ways. When I'm speaking to my clients and that question comes up, my clients are doing something or they're talking about something, and there's a place where I can go and say, I don't trust myself to be very effective at what I'm doing. Now, I've been doing personal development work for myself and other people for like 35 years. So I kind of know something, and I keep growing myself. So I trust myself in that regard. But when there's always that growing edge that I come up against, there's that little voice inside that says I can't trust myself. But I have to ask myself that question in terms of writing and painting. Ruby, who is my editor, I sent her something and she goes, "You are so prolific." And I go, yeah, but in my head, what I'm saying is, I may be prolific, but am I good? Is my writing good? Is it, that kind of thing. So she's been editing for me for over 10 years, and she likes my writing and is really always encouraging and supportive. But the evidence is, yes, I'm prolific. I've written 12 books. I've got tons of blogs up, those kinds of things. But and my mind goes to, yes, but, is it worthy? Is it, worthwhile? Can I trust that? Can I trust myself? The same thing is true when I'm painting. I just painted a really cool rabbit. I'll put that up. I'll post it in another post. But I did this really cool rabbit, and I didn't trace it. I didn't use a grid method and do it really detailed, meticulous. This is a rabbit thing. I just started drawing it. I just started painting it with or drawing it out with a paintbrush, and all of a sudden there in front of me is a rabbit. It looks like a rabbit. It looks awesome. But that part of me that's like shocked because, oh my God, it looks like a rabbit, as if I haven't any experience. And so there's a part of me that doesn't trust. So that theme that follows with my clients also follows along with me of, in my writing and my coaching and in my painting, even in my personal life, where is it that I look for the evidence that I can't trust myself? And so that's the big question. That's kind of where I wanted to go to, is like, we can look at the evidence of where I can't trust myself, where in the past I really goofed or made a mistake or was really terrible at something, and where I can't trust myself. Or I can look at where I can trust myself. And this was something I posed to just about every client that I worked with this week. It's like, what's the evidence here that you can trust yourself? And it's very difficult for them to answer that question because they keep wanting to go to, yes, but. It's, yes, but, I can trust myself, but, just like I said, I'm really prolific. I've written hundreds and hundreds of blogs and all kinds of stuff. But can I trust that and what would happen if I trusted myself? What would show up if I actually said, yes, I trust myself, as opposed to saying, yes, I trust myself to a degree, and then living in that hesitation, in the vigilance for where I might make a mistake or whatever that is. and so a lot of us, we tend to defer to somebody else, defer to how it should be done on YouTube or Google or whatever, as opposed to actually experimenting. So when I did the painting of the rabbit, I just experimented. I just I'm just going to do this rather than trying to make a rabbit the way somebody else would. It's like, I'm just going to do it. I'm going to do it my way, which is just, in this case, jumping in. So that's number one, is it's like the degree to which any one of us, and I think this is a human issue, not just for some people. I think it's an existential issue, because we're human and we exist. We have learned to we've trained ourselves to not trust ourselves in so many ways, even though the evidence in the world shows that we're very effective, very successful, very productive or creative in the ways that we are. And there's that place where we limit what's next. We run up against the edge of our comfort zone, and we kind of, don't, we just kind of walk away or distract ourselves or do something else, as opposed to saying, okay, so what if I could trust myself that this will look like a rabbit, or that this will sound coherent in these live Friday events? Will this sound coherent? I don't know. But it's that place of what's the consequences of me actually trusting myself? And what's the consequence of living in such a way that you are not trusting yourself, or trusting that you can trust yourself? A long time ago, I had a conversation with a client, and it was the first time that I really got that idea that she was struggling with her therapist. She wanted to leave her therapist, and her therapist says, "Oh, that's not a good idea." And here's an authority figure that says, "Oh, you shouldn't," but whatever. And this woman who's 30-something says, "Yeah, but I don't want to do this anymore." And she really struggled with, can I trust myself to make a good choice for myself? And that was the first time that I really got how important that is for us to trust that we can trust ourselves. And if we can't, what do we want to do about that? So for me, 67 years, I'm in my 70th decade, there are certain things I can trust myself doing. And there's certain things I'm not sure. Like, I've got a chainsaw that I know I could do it, but I don't trust myself enough to actually do it. So there's places where it makes sense, like the consequences of taking the chainsaw out. I might cut my finger or my arm off or whatever, and I don't want to risk that. So, but there are some places where the consequences of not trusting myself is bigger than the risk, if you know what I'm saying. If I don't trust that I'm really as good as I am, as masterful as I am, as competent as I am, then I'm not going to do things like these live Facebooks, or I'm not going to do my podcasts, or I'm not going to be speaking at the Assist conference, which I'm going to tell you about in a second. I wouldn't put myself out there, even though I think I have something to share. So the consequence of not trusting myself is one thing to be with, and the consequences of trusting myself is another. So that's something to potentially consider, is like, what's the consequences of not trusting myself? What's the consequences of trusting myself? So those are big questions, I think. And I've seen, just in the difference of this week, I'm looking at my notes right now, of what's shifted because I'm in this conversation and I'm listening to my clients. I'm listening to myself ask my clients, what's the evidence that you can't trust yourself? And most of the time, people don't have much evidence that they can't trust themselves. They just have a voice in their head that says, yes, but you could make a mistake. And it's like, is that potential risk of making a mistake greater than not trying at all? So that's that. There's an organization I belong to, and I know some of you know already. It's called the American Center for the Integration of Spiritually Transformative Experiences, ASSIST, ACISTE.org. The link is below. ASSIST trains people to work with people who have had spiritually transformative experiences, people who have had near-death experiences or out-of-body experiences or other phenomenal experiences that have kind of taken them out of sorts, and they need some support to have a sense of integration in their life. So that's what this organization does, assist, ACISTE.org. So in November, they're going to be having a conference in Atlanta, and I'll be speaking there. I do their coach training program, which is from, I believe, November 11th to the 14th. And so I train for them, and I'm also one of the speakers this year for the conference. But there are so many great people, and if you're familiar with Matt Kahn, K-A-H-N, he will be speaking at the fundraiser dinner on Friday night. I think it's the 15th. So if that has any interest to you, it's so exciting. And the work in terms of if you're into spiritual development work and transpersonal work, you might want to look at attending this conference. And it's in Atlanta, and it's starts the 14th, unless you're doing the training with me, which means it starts, I think, the 11th or the 12th. So that's pretty much it. Let me see if that's my notes. So yes, can I trust myself? That's the question. And the element it might be interesting to think about is just again there's a concept called heuristic research or heuristic inquiry, which is like, who am I in this experience? And when we ask ourselves that question, it's a great way, a qualitative research methodology. I used it in my dissertation. A lot of people use it in their dissertations. Like, what's the experience of being in the experience of this life for you or for me? It's like, what's the experience of being in this place of not trusting? What's the experience of being in experience of trusting? And when you can ask yourself that question, you get curious. I think it makes me curious about what that's like, and go from there in terms of saying, well, I want more of that, or I want to know more. I'm going to watch and observe myself in life to see how that shows up. So one of my clients, Elaine, today was saying she'd wake up in the morning, this is over the last few days, when I asked her that question, what's the evidence of trusting yourself? And she came up with a bigger, longer list of how she can trust herself than she ever imagined. And the evidence is very clear. I can trust myself. Now what do you do with that? And that little voice that goes, yes, but. And so it's like, how do you be with that voice? How do you be with that? Lots of questions. Anyway, that's it for now. I hope this is helpful. Leave comments if you like. Leave other thoughts if you'd like me to talk on Friday, Feasts on Friday for Facebook. If you have some other ideas, that would be great. All right, big hugs to you guys. Bye for now.